this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden, Team Inoshikacho teams up with Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan to save some children from some weird, freaky monsters. Neji and Naruto also encountered a masked ninja who looks like Obito, but actually has the powers of the Byakugan Eye. I'd love to explain more about this week's episode, but that's pretty much the entire episode right there. Just, they managed to stretch it out over the course of about 20 minutes. This is the continuation of the Infinite Tsukiyomi arc. This is Tsunade's story, and it's not even really her story, it's her actually reading Jiraiya's books. And after watching these last couple of episodes, which are still not done by the way, I now know why Jiraiya wasn't exactly the greatest author in the Naruto world. 'Cause this story completely blows ass. So yeah, this whole episode really is all about Team Inoshikacho teaming up with Nagato and his group so that they can save those children from the last episode, who just fell into the middle of this giant chasm, which is surrounded by all of these giant monsters, which look like a combination of like a salamander, a snake, and a whale. They can swim in water, and they can burrow through walls. I really don't know what the hell these things are, or if they even have some sort of strange connection to this Obito character. It might have a connection to this other new guy they bring up called Mashima, who apparently is like the deity of this village that all of the villagers actually worship, and Shikamaru actually ends up finding the secret entrance to that, but they really give you no explanation as to what the hell these giant monsters are. Also, something really bothers me about this episode, because at the end of last week's episode, there was that big collapse where everybody fell through that hole, including those kids, and right as soon as that's done happening, you have Nagato and his team who jump back down so that they can actually save these kids. Now, I don't know how it's possible, but these kids have hauled ass. They have ran all the way to the end of this tunnel, and they don't even seem to have any sort of special ninja abilities, and Nagato and his team have a really tough time actually getting to the end of this cave, so I have no idea how these kids actually pulled this off. The most interesting thing about this episode, without a doubt, though, is that towards the end, we get to see this giant swirling vortex, which I'm guessing is like a portal to another dimension, very similar to Obito's, and that's where all of, like, the captains and Chunin teams are actually going. And so Naruto and Neji decide to jump right in, and that's when they meet this mysterious figure who looks a lot like Obito. He's wearing the traditional old-school orange mask, except that his outfit looks a little different, and instead of a Sharingan eye, he has a Byakugan eye, and he claims he knows all of the real secrets of Konoha Village, more so than any of them actually believe, and he seems to be really interested in Neji. Obviously, he has the Byakugan eye, which leads me to believe that this brand new story is probably going to have a twist where this actually isn't Obito at all. For all we know, this could actually be the father of Neji, which honestly I think is probably the most interesting thing about this entire story. Why would Jiraiya be writing about this, considering this is probably supposed to be all about Naruto, who is mostly relegated to being a side character in this arc, remains to be seen. What I will say is, this was still an okay episode, which actually had some decent animation and artwork. The problem is, just like the other ones, it's just really boring. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Naruto Shippuden? Pretty decent artwork, pretty good animation, they stretched it out over the course of 20 minutes. I feel like they could have done a lot more with this one. They could have had more fun with some of these characters, especially because we have them all gathered together, and we have characters who are dead brought back to life. Case in point, Neji, who seems like he's going to be one of the linchpin characters for this Infinite Tsukiyomi arc, and it still confounds me that this is actually all like Tsunade's story, despite the fact that she's really not involved whatsoever. And they always try to remind you that she's a part of it, because at the beginning of this episode, we get to see that reused animation of the Infinite Tsukiyomi with the giant tree coming up and actually wrapping around Tsunade. We've seen that like 4 times at this point, and frankly, it's getting kind of old. And then it's just back to her reading the book. That's about it. So, just okay episode, some okay monster battles. It's just stretched out too damn thin, and honestly, it's just a very boring episode. But some Naruto fans will really appreciate this, and they might even like the mystery of who the masked villain might be. Honestly, like I said, I do think that's the best thing about this story, because I had no idea where they're going with that aspect of it. Everything else, though, is just sorta so-so. So if I was gonna give a score for this week's episode, I'm gonna give it a 2. For me, it's a 2, because I liked some of the animation and artwork, but I will never watch this episode again. I have zero desire to ever look at it. On the bright side, there are going to be hardcore Naruto fans who probably will like this episode, but even they, I think, will think of this as like a 3 out of 5. Just a very painfully average episode of Naruto Shippuden. So let's just continue to slog forward, get through this Infinite Tsukiyomi arc, because it's only a matter of time before we get to the real material, the final arc of Naruto. So, like I said, for me, it's a 2 out of 5. Most people will consider it a 3. There's going to be a rare 5 out of 5 out there somewhere. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. If you guys watched this week's episode, please tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Do you have a favorite character who's been reappearing in this arc? What's the deal with that masked villain? Is it a Hyuga character that we've seen before? Is it Obito who somehow planted a Byakugan eye inside of his skull? Is it someone completely new? I'd love to hear your theories. Make sure to tell me in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!